June is Alzheimer's Awareness Month, a disease that affects 7 million Americans. So, to help us understand more and to get great tips on caring for family members suffering memory loss, please welcome Dr. Macie Smith.
Doc.
Yes. Hi, Doc. Good to see you, as always.
To be here.
Good to see you. So, I first want you to explain the difference between, and a lot of people right now are dealing as caregivers with that. What's the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's?
Thank you for asking that question,
Yes.
because many people don't know that there is a difference. Alzheimer's is the disease, dementia is the symptom. So dementia is a group of symptoms or a set of behaviors that a person displays as a result of having a condition impairing a person's cognitive ability, their ability to think through things, remember things, communicate, perform. For example, if you go to the doctor for a cough, the doctor is going to try to figure out what's causing that cough symptom. It could be COVID, it could be an upper respiratory infection. And so if you or a loved one is diagnosed with dementia, the very first thing you need to ask the doctor is what type or what's causing it. Alzheimer's just happens to be the most common type, but there are over 100 causes.
Wow. So interesting. I did not know that.
Well, you know, I have to ask, because this is something I'm concerned with. I felt like before my dad passed, he was kind of showing symptoms, but that was just me. I don't have a medical opinion. But what are some of the risk factors for Alzheimer's disease?
So the biggest risk factor is age, but make no mistake about it. Simply because you're of a particular age doesn't mean you're going to get it. It's not a normal part of aging, but there are what I call aggravating factors that could be addressed. You think about lifestyle. If you're not eating a well-balanced diet, a healthy diet, if you're not exercising or staying active, if you're not managing those chronic illnesses such as high blood pressure or hypertension. I'm from the South, Al, so we say pressure.
Yes.
Diabetes, pressure,
You were talking to a man.
And the sugar.
Yes.
and the sugar. So obesity. And believe it or not, being lifelong learners, you have to continue to build that brain power, learn new information, go new places, new experiences. You know those saying, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yes.
The same goes with your brain.
It's important to know.
So what do people who are suffering from the disease experience?
So I will say, when you've met one person with Alzheimer's disease or dementia, you've met that one person. Everybody's experience is different, but there are some typical things that we see. Just imagine walking under a cloud and not being able to get from up under that cloud. Think about or imagine having a dream or a nightmare, and you are trying to take control over that narrative of a nightmare, and you can't.
Wow.
What's a moment for us is a lifetime for them, which is why it's very important that we engage with them and the family caregivers with compassion, love, and empathy.
My mom had dementia at the end, just like this. I was just triggered by that. Go ahead.
Are you okay?
Yeah, it's just
I
real.
want to love on her from
I
the
know.
corner.
Yeah,
Thank
it's just so real. But you could understand the cloud thing. She just was really agitated. Sorry, go ahead, Sam.
No,
Yeah.
sensitive to that.
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Speaking of caregivers, it can be very costly, right? Both physically, both financially, mentally, all of the above. So what are some aspects to caring for someone with Alzheimer's that you would want them to know?
Well, I want to put the cost into perspective, because when you say costly, people really don't know. When we think about in-home care, we're looking at a price tag of anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 per month for non-medical care. If we're talking about out-of-home placement, assisted living, or nursing home, we're looking at anywhere from $4,000 to about $9,000, $10,000 a month. And Medicare does not cover that. People don't know it until they need to know it, and that's when it's too late. Medicare doesn't cover it. Traditional insurance doesn't cover it. You know who covers it? The senior who has to decide whether or not to pay for their light bill or their medication. Family members who are actually going bankrupt and depleting their savings in order to pay to care for someone who's given them life.
Wow.
That has to
Makes me
change.
wanna
And
cry.
so the more we get that information out there, people can start planning now. Like, we can plan now for our long term. We can start planning for our parents. Now, if you have long-term care insurance, it might cover it, but insurance carriers are not even carrying long-term care insurance anymore to cover that level of care. So we got a lot of advocacy to do.
Yeah, I remember.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I remember trying to get the best care for my mom and thinking, my God, this is out for someone who is privileged and well off. It is insanely
Not
pricey.
knowing.
Not knowing, no idea. So I want to ask you this: as a caregiver, my sister, my dad, and I, how can caregivers provide the best support for the people? Because I do want to ask you this, Doc. it did get a little agitated, and there's a lot of anger. And there's a lot of anger and resentment, sometimes no
That's real.
judgment.
No, that's real.
At the person who's repeating and can't get away from that cycle. What is your advice?
So I say this, if you're aggravated and you have a fully functioning, accommodating brain, imagine what they're experiencing. So you have to have a team, you have to have respite, because you're gonna get frustrated. You have to be able to take time away. You can change, they can't.
Fair.
So I oftentimes tell family members and caregivers to focus on the person and not the disease. Focus on the heart and the soul of the person, and if you speak to that, then you'll get a totally different outcome. You know the saying, people might forget what you said, people might forget what you did, but they never forget how you make them feel. I don't care how their brain is deteriorating, that heart and soul is still there. They may no longer talk like your mom, they may no longer respond like your mom, but they still feel like they're your mom. So that's the biggest takeaway. Focus on the person and not the disease.
Amen,
Well,
Dr.
great note.
Macie.
Thank you.
Amen. Luckily for all of us, we have this incredible book. So thank you for sharing all of your vital information. In DBL Nation, if you or someone you know is caring for someone suffering from Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia, you can get a copy of Dr. Macie's book, The Journey, A Dementia Caregiver Called to Action, on Amazon. All of your unanswered questions will be right here.
Some support.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.